What's up, guys? This is my 2001 Porsche Boxster. Yeah, it's gonna be my winter beater. Bought this thing sight unseen at an IAAI auction. There was about 11 photos listed, but it was listed as a runs and drives car, so you know, I just had to throw in a bid. It fought us. It didn't really want to go anywhere, so I think it wanted to stay in the South, but you know, we fixed some stuff and it made it all the way back. So that's not to say that this thing does not have some significant problems though. So first thing you'll notice is I didn't even bother shutting the frunk all the way, and that was because there's something seriously wrong electrically with this car where it does not want to release this thing. So I left it safety latched for like the whole ride home, 10 hours. It made it. It's not folded over the windshield, but you know, that's why I've left that until we can get some electrical issues sorted. So I also have my trusty Schwaben hood prop because the hood shocks are blown out, and really nothing really exciting to see under here. The battery we just had replaced because it was super dead from buying it at auction. There's the old one that I still need to return for a core. Here is the floor mat that I placed on top of the battery for the whole drive home because the one we used didn't fit. And there's still a bunch of trash in it and I can't wait to clean it. There's actually a lot of space in here. I mean, like for like you can pretty comfortably fit a person in here. All right, getting out of here. Whew, that's nice. So as you can see, there's a handful of cosmetic blemishes. You know, the front bumper is pretty roached. This thing is shattered, side marker, not a big deal. The aftermarket wheels, I could take them or leave them. They're 19 inches. We're gonna have to do something about that. I don't really wanna put low profile snow tires on this, so pick up some probably 17s because those should fit on that. I cannot see anything out of the back of this, like wet or not, like it's just fogged over so bad. As you can see, there's a little crack in it, and that's from putting the window down when it's too cold out. It's like a common plastic window convertible issue, so big no-no, and I think it's gonna be a problem. So we'll have to see if maybe we can find a second-hand one, but you know, for now, it stays dryish in there. Moving around to the back, really not much going on here. You can see the poorly fitting eBay exhaust on there. Looks bad, sounds all right. Otherwise, I'd show you the actual trunk, but I can't get it open right now. So again, electrical problems. Now typically this goes up with an electric motor, but you know, in the saga of bringing this thing back from down south, some more stuff broke and I needed to get the top up. So disconnected this from the motors in order to manually raise the top. Typically though, service position for this car, you lift this up, you pop the roof back a little bit, you start lifting up a bunch of covers and trays and stuff, and the motor is actually underneath that. Oh man, that's really wet. But anyways, that's where it is. We're gonna have to get in there eventually because it does have a check engine light for I don't know what, has a hunting idle, which I'm hoping is just simple as a vacuum leak, but there's something going on engine-wise that we're gonna need to address. And of course, I know everybody's gonna be asking, IMS bearings. I don't know, no history of them being done. I don't know. I don't know if we'll do it. We probably won't do it. All right, brings us to the interior, which it may look rough at first glance, but I have confidence it'll clean up all right. You know, all the handles and everything, shift knob are all pretty roached. This is super loose, which it's a nice gearbox. Like I can tell that it would shift nice if this was tighter. So definitely gonna look into fixing that. Got to do some investigation into the electrical problems. And I have a suspicion that the electrical problems all stem from the immobilizer, which lives underneath my seat. And given how damp it is and the nature of these cars having issues with that specifically, moisture and the immobilizer, I'm suspecting that's causing a lot of our problems. All right, so follow along this winter and find out if an auction Porsche is a good winter beater. Cleaning her up, got some wheels and tires to mount and balance for this thing, and yeah, we'll get it on a rack and start poking around with the mechanical stuff. 17s with snow tires, Blizzaks, are now on. So much better than these bald 285s that were on the rear. Fronts were actually in pretty good shape and kind of nice. What are they? Nokians. Yeah. First things first, wanted to take a look at the engine because I haven't looked at it yet. And I had that weird hunting idle problem. First thing I did was clean the MAF, which was pretty easy to get to after exposing said engine. MAF is right far. Pulled it out, cleaned it, no change. So, sprayed around with the carb cleaner looking for leaks. None readily apparent. So next is throttle body. Throttle body, gross. Yeah, it's pretty dirty. I'm pretty optimistic. You know, it didn't really look that dirty at first, but then when I cleaned it, there was quite a bit of stuff, and now I can like actually see through the throttle body around the blade where its little home position is, where it definitely couldn't before. So,
hey, if it makes your idle less annoying, I don't care what it is.
MAF cleaned, throttle body cleaned. Come on, idle. Radio off. No, shut up. Okay. Did I remember to plug the throttle body back in? I don't think so. Hey, I can see it. Maybe I did? I don't think I did. I didn't plug it back in. Redo. Plugged it back in, we'll try again. Seems promising. Cautiously optimistic. Maybe we'll just let it warm up a smidgen. I think it's fixed. I think it's fixed. Buy a small car, they said. It would be fun, they said. Ignition column out. I'm not really sure why I took this out when I think I could have just replaced the key. But I have a new one. So, in order to make the door lock and this lock the same key, I've replaced them both, and we're in the process of also replacing the immobilizer and the DME. We're close. I did the hardest things first. So after this, just plug in the immobilizer, plug in the DME, resync the key, and then we might have fixed the thing. So I was getting in here, I was notice, you know, I had this out of the case, so I was looking for burnt traces and things like that at first. But anyways, plug, fuse, another plug. Simple enough. Now I get to plugging in the new one, which, mind you, I made sure it was matched to this model year, and they changed some throughout the years. And I'm looking underneath, you know, looking at all these connectors, and I noticed there's a little black wire that looks exactly like an antenna for like a mobile phone, like a little guy. It's just a single wire, black wire. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I go to plug in this new one, and it has a plug for it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I quickly grabbed the old one. I'm looking for it. I'm like, you know, if it was something as dumb as like just not being plugged in all the way, missing a plug, I would have been pissed. But I'm looking at this now, and you know, it doesn't have a spot for that. Notice it's just on this one, Just the left of blue connector. Just the left of blue connector. Ain't nothing there. So I'm guessing here that whoever was in here before, because it was pretty obvious somebody was, tried doing all this and grabbed an immobilizer for the wrong year. So I bet you this one works fine. Like the front frunk started working when I replaced the immobilizer, but not the back, so that's kind of weird. So I knew it worked when I jumped it at the connector on the immobilizer. So the first place I was looking was at the switches themselves that reside down yonder, which I obviously have removed right now. So gave ground to the correct pin on that switch and it popped open. So then I started testing the switch itself. No bueno. So yeah, you can get a whole new switch panel. They're like on Amazon and eBay for like 30 bucks. So I figured, what do I have to lose trying to fix this? Because 30 bucks is 30 bucks. So if you look very closely, there is a burnt trace right here. So that's the problem. Just gonna try and solder it, and then it should work again. So I'm gonna do that, and that's gonna be a small win for today. Still lights up, that's a good sign. And I don't know if you can hear that, but that was the trunk popping. So saved 30 bucks. So I got a fresh e-housing, soldered on a new micro switch, and it functions. So that's cool. Wow. But as I was saying, gosh, shut up, Kevin. Wow. It's not my fault your thing doesn't run and you bought a cheap piece of shit. Next, kind of unfortunate news. I went to go put this used top on that I bought, and it was my mistake for not checking it out closely when I bought it or before I put it on, but it's 6 bolts to put on, but it is unfortunately also ripped. So that doesn't help me too much. I'd probably live with it and dispatch the rip if I could actually see out the back window. It doesn't look bad at first glance, but from inside the car, it's pretty useless. Here, take a look here. Yeah, pretty frosty. I mean, I hit it with a little polishing compound and put a small amount of effort into trying to make it clear. So I found a new in-box Sierra brand replacement top with a glass rear window. So there's a lot of pros and cons to the glass versus plastic debate. I won't really go into that, but for me, winter glass sounds pretty good because it also has a defrost, so that's cool. All things considered, I'm not leaving puddles of oil on the floor. It runs, and I have floors in my car. So overall, I think I'm ahead right now. Shut up, Kevin. Although, yeah, I have a lot of issues I'm plugging away at, obviously, doing the top right now. This is kind of tedious and my fingers hurt from trying to peel out all this adhesive. But, you know, yeah, I spent more money, but, you know, we're in the lead. It's still throwing secondary air codes. I haven't done a whole lot of diagnostics on that. I know the pump works, but everything else, the solenoid and all the little vacuum lines are all underneath the intake manifold. So the next thing I'm gonna do is probably just pull the intake manifold, go over all that stuff, make sure everything's plugged in, and I have pretty high confidence that that will be relatively easy. So,
who do you think has the best car as of now?
I mean, it's me. today we are working on front brakes. Kind of known this since I bought the car. You know, you could see through the wheel spokes that the front rotors were obviously very, very worn, and then upon closer inspection, the pads were almost gone. So rotors, I suspect they've probably never been replaced. They have like a solid like 2 millimeter lip out near the edge of the rotor, and a groove pretty heavily, as you can see. And then the pads themselves were pretty much gone, you know. Just got these replaced, Miley coated premium rotors. These things are sweet, and for the price, I mean, you can't really go wrong. I'm a big believer in blanks in general, so fortunate for me, you know, those are usually the cheapest option as well. Drilled and slotted just aren't my jam. When I went to go do the brakes, you know, pulling out the old pads and the wear sensor, the connector that the wear sensor goes into over here on the side of the spindle, rubber is pretty roached here, as you can see. Pulled the pins right out of that thing. Like, if I touch this one, it for sure will just fall apart. You can see it's already like cracked and stuff. So I'm gonna have to replace the chassis side of that harness. I can't see where the connector goes, tucks up somewhere in the wheel well, but I assume it is probably replaceable. I'm gonna finish up the other side real quick. Should go pretty smoothly, knock on wood, and then move on to the passenger rear axle, which has completely ripped CV boots. So I'm gonna pull the axle out, get that cleaned up, greased up, and rebooted. So that is my goal for this evening. On to the other side. Oh yeah! Boom! What the freshie? And then we're done with the other side now. Look at that. Yeah. Gotta love those coated rotors. So second side took like, I want to say maybe 15 minutes with changing the rotor. I do love these Porsche brakes. Pad changes, super easy. So that's wrapped up. I'm just gonna scoot all these tools back then, and that's the axle we gotta do. And this is my winter beater. Last time you saw this thing, you know I picked it up sight unseen from an auction down south. And I gotta say, it's looking a lot better now. Got this thing home, cleaned up the outside, washed it, waxed it, buffed it, all that, and I think it's looking choice. You know, I think I took this Porsche and made it a Porsche. Overall, there's a lot of things done mechanically to this. I just really wanted to make it reliable, if you will. And I think we did that. Found a local salvage yard that's just so happened to have everything that I needed, an immobilizer, a DME, and a matching key fob, because you know they all needed to talk to each other. So I bought all that stuff for 200 bucks, put it in the car, and things started working again. Like a lot of the functionality came back, a lot of the electronics started working properly, and in order to protect that investment, the first order of business was to replace the soft top on it. scouring Facebook Marketplace, I was able to find a new in box Sierra top with a glass rear window, which now has defrost, which is awesome for the winter time. For a winter beater, given that this also is an open diff, you would tend to believe that things are a little unpredictable, especially when it's actual snow or ice. Sometimes you just don't know when it's going to break loose. But I gotta say, my experience so far is kind of unexpected. It handles fantastic. You know, the mid-engine, weight over the rear wheels, it's very controllable in a slide, and it's turning out to be a lot of fun. Even the parking brake seems to lock up pretty easily on this, and that's probably due to Porsche brakes. I do have to give a shout out to our buddies over at Rennline. When they heard we were doing winter beater, naturally they reached out to their favorite and best car in the whole series, the Porsche Boxster, and they got excited, decided to throw me a couple parts. First and foremost, on the front of the car, you'll notice they had this awesome tow hook with an integrated GoPro mount. They know that I have a tendency to perhaps wind up in a ditch in my winter beaters. They decided to help me out, get me hooked up with one of these. This thing is beefy, and it just like looks awesome on the front of the car, the billet tow hook. And like I said, the GoPro mount should hopefully let us get some sweet footage this winter. So we'll definitely look forward to using that. Picked up these tire rack wheels, nothing too special about them. They're just solid wheels, wrapped them in Blizzaks. So, you know, tried and true, they're a really, really solid tire. These have tons of life left on them, and they've been performing really well. The problem with the wheels that I went to put on it, they were super sunken in the wheel wells and just didn't look quite right. So Rennline comes in clutch again, put 18mm spacers all around the car, and I think it really helps the look of the car. And now all we need is a little bit of a drop or a lift. Man, I bought this thing not intending to keep it, and unfortunately it's been growing on me a lot. You know, the more time that I've spent with it, like visually, it's really grown on me. And like, I didn't think they used to be good looking, but now that I own it, like I feel like it's a really good looking car. So, you know, unfortunately, this may go the way of the E39 and stay in the stable and go on to do some more cool stuff. The winter beater is a perfect opportunity to go out and just buy a shitty version of the car you've always wanted. So, you know, use it as an opportunity to, if you don't know a whole lot about cars or how to fix them, to learn those things. And so what, maybe you'll end up on the side of the road or in a ditch, but you'll learn something along the way. So don't worry about too much what's reliable, what gives you the best performance, because I gotta tell you, even things that are underpowered, you get a little bit of this powdered horsepower out there and everything's fun. So just get something that you like, because it's the most difficult to get out here in the cold and fix something that you could care less about. Shut up, Kevin. Shut up, Kevin. Wow. It's not my fault your thing doesn't run and you bought a cheap piece of shit.